Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bollywood Cinema Club. I am the host of the Culture Cast, Chris Stashew. On every episode of the Bollywood Cinema Club, we take a look at an Indian cinema film, be it Hindu language, be it Telugu, be it Tamil. We're covering everything, and most of the time, I think 9 times out of 10, they're movies totally worth checking out, even though most of the time, we've never seen them before. On this episode of Bollywood Cinema Club, I'm joined once again by my good friend. She is a writer. She is a woman about town. You can find her over at Mondo Heather and over at Diabolique. Your friend and mine, Heather Drain.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
I guess, should I also say Amir Khan's #1 fan in Arkansas?
Oh my God.
The head of the Amir Khan Arkansas fan club.
He's dreamy. He's so dreamy.
He is dreamy, and boy, he's putting on the dream hardcore on this episode of the Bollywood Cinema Club. We're talking about 2018's action period piece, ? Thugs of Hindostan.
Yes.
So, the film is directed and written by Vijay Krishna Acharya, and it stars the aforementioned Amir Khan, also Big B himself, Amitabh Bachchan. Familiar face from the last time we talked, Fatima Sana Shaikh. She is from Dangal. And then a couple other people in here, Lloyd Owen, who I have had the pleasure of actually talking to a long time ago for a completely different movie. He's gone on to be in, we'll talk about him, obviously. He's gone on to be in some pretty big stuff now as well. And Katrina Kaif is in there for like a minute. But the film is all about, I guess let's walk this back. So Fatima Shaikh plays Zafira, a girl who is orphaned at the beginning of the movie and is taken under the wing by Amitabh Bachchan's Azad, who protects her. And they end up being freedom fighters. And while they are freedom fighters, the British want to capture them. And so in finding a way to capture them, they hire the best named character, Ferengi, played by Amir Khan. I was expecting him to look more like Nog, maybe to, Quark. Is he Quark adjacent?
Quark is the big Ferengi for me.
Nog is a lower tier one.
Nog's totally lower tier Ferengi. Nog is like always say Ferengi.
That's fair.
Quark is like name brand. Yeah.
But Amir Khan plays Ferengi, a thug / liar / roustabout / Jack Sparrow type. I would go as far as to say. And he is tasked with taking down the thugs on behalf of the Brits. And wouldn't you know it, double crosses, triple crosses, all kinds of crosses in this sort of pirate high seas adventure movie period piece. So if you can't tell, there's kind of a lot going on here. Heather, I'm going to kick it to you first. What did you think of your time with Thugs of Hindostan?
When you and I watched the trailer, the trailer's beautiful. I was immediately pumped. It's a great trailer, and it definitely gives you like a great taste of what you're in for. And so watching the actual movie, I was not disappointed. I feel like everything that's promised you in the trailer, like you would certainly get in the movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I was really surprised to see this movie is not beloved. There's some bad reviews of it. And some of it I get, and we'll go into it, but I almost with a lot of these people, I'm like, maybe you need to watch some of the movies Chris and I have had to watch for past episodes. Because I've seen worse. I've seen way. In fact, I saw something way worse before I had to watch this one for a related podcast, but we won't go into that here. But Chris, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
But no, I mean, to me, it's, if you go into it, especially kind of expecting like almost like an old Hollywood style action adventure film, but with kind of a modern flair, even though it's historical, I think you can have a lot of fun with it. And the cast, I mean, I definitely want to see more of, and I'm going to just apologize in advance for any butchering I do of people's names. Amitabh Bachchan.
Amitabh.
He playing the great Kuda Bakish.
We can just call him Azad.
We'll call him Azad. That
makes our lives easier.
Kneel. I mean, who would not kneel before Azad?
Right. He's more of an idea, less of a person, really.
Yeah, but his look and his presence in this movie. There are people that have written heavy metal albums about a guy like this man. Like, he is so metal. He is like this silver-haired, like elder, like warrior. Like, he is like a character you level up to in a video game.
So, as you can obviously kind of tell, just getting right into it, Amitabh Bachchan is... there are no actors in American cinema on his level because he is on his own level. That is how venerated and big of an actor he is. So the fact that it's him and Amir Khan in this movie is like, that's a massive selling point on the face of it. You're going to see it because they've never been on screen together. So the fact that you're mentioning like Amitabh out of the gate, I think is important because you can't stress enough how much this is really Amir Khan and Amitabh's movie. Almost entirely. I mean, Fatima Sheikh is there, but I kind of feel like the characters that I wanted more from in the movie ended up being her and Amir Khan's friend, who kind of Sanichar, they save him from jail at the beginning of the movie, or I guess Amir Khan kind of boosts him out of jail so he can come along with him. But it's funny. We like you mentioned, we watched the trailer together, and I was just as excited as you were, and I did enjoy the movie. But when I watched the trailer after watching the movie, I couldn't help but feel like it did kind of show some of the best parts of the movie in the trailer.
Yeah, which I think is very much a problem with trailers. I would agree with that criticism, as much as we both enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, and that, I used to think that was more of a modern thing, but I over Thanksgiving break, I watched a ton of like obscure 70s like drive-in type trailers, and it's like half of those trailers, it's like, yeah, here's the ending. Have fun with it, So it's definitely not a new problem. But I do think people like trailers should be more of a tease. You're supposed to sell the sizzle, not the steak. Agreed. But
I also think I think my issue with the movie is because the trailer gives away so much, what we get in the movie is good, but it's not. Maybe it's because I've seen some of these other Indian cinema action movies like Doom, like Triple R, which is a period piece, like I guess Brahmastra is kind of in the vein of this, but it's not a period piece. I think the issue that I kind of had with this movie is it gets wrapped up in showing us cool stuff for a little too long. It kind of lingers a little long. It's almost Zack Snyder-y in the amount of slow motion and kind of like film distortion techniques that it uses, like slowing the pace of the movie down with the camera, like slowing the frame rate of the movie down. Like, they do it a lot in this movie. And then there are some shots in this movie that kind of exist to just be cool and look cool. And this is a movie that's almost 3 hours long, and that might not sound like a big criticism, but it adds up. I mean, it really does. Over a 3-hour movie, you do slow-mo a bunch of times. It does add up in the end. It's unavoidable.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I will say that the advantage this one has over say like a lot of Zack Snyder's work, and I will say this though, actually, in honesty, there's only one Zack Snyder film I've seen all the way through more than once, and it's the only one of his I really love, which is The Watchmen. I've never been like pulled to watch all of his filmography.
Well, and I would say like the quality of this movie blows Zack Snyder's stuff out of the waters. I mean, just the actors alone in this movie are better than essentially any actor for the most part that has been in a Zack Snyder movie. Like, well, and I think that's the part of the reason why The Watchmen is the one of his, because I mean, you've got Alan Moore's material, but yeah, you've got like Jackie Earle Haley and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, right?
And those two are like gravitas actors, and that's and that is definitely to me like the biggest selling point of Thugs of Hindostan is Amir Khan and Amitabh. You can just call him Big. You can even call him Big B if you want. Big B.
That's his nickname. I mean, Amitabh has been acting since the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Like he's been around so long that one of his more famous movies, Dawn, got remade with SRK in the early 2000s, who is also in his own right a massive star. So it's I mean again, like what's kind of crazy is this is what, the third Amir Khan movie we've watched.
Yes.
The third Indian cinema movie that we've watched. Tonally, the three movies that we've watched together, Indian cinema wise, have been drastically different. First one, Rangeela, a dancing kind of rom-com. Dangal, a very serious movie in a lot of ways. Fun, but serious movie. And then this is a complete 180 from both of those.
Oh, yeah. No, this is totally... I mean, this is like something where I was like, this is totally like a big budget. Obviously, I mean, it's like one of the biggest budget movies made in India.
It was when it came out the most expensive, and now I think it's just one of, because they keep.
Wow.
And when the crazy thing is, it's like the budget for this movie in US dollars is $38 million.
How much is the average? I don't keep up
like
with
Wakanda Forever was like 250, 300.
This is why other countries hate us. This is why other countries hate America. That's ridiculous.
Well, what's crazy is, I mean, if you really sit and think about it for a second, the effects in this movie are not better or worse than American cinema at all. Like, at all. No. I mean, the technology is there for everybody at this point. It's how much processing power you put in behind it to refine the look of it. But like the quality of the look at this point, if you're spending a couple million or tens of millions of dollars, something looking nice anymore is not really, like, in my mind, it's not something that we should be praising the filmmakers for. It should be something that they should be like landing on immediately. I shouldn't have to praise you for your movie looking good in 2022.
Right. I will say, I think this film, like the two things I liked about it over, like, say what an American counterpart would be, is I feel like there was more of a color scheme. I feel like a lot of American movies like that are more current, most of them tend to not realize that there's a huge palette to work from.
It's just gray and brown and blue. Yeah, that blue light in the sky is very popular.
Oh, and so that was refreshing. And I will say that with CGI, other than some of it with some of the boat scenes looked a little bit like a Sierra Adventures game. But
they were very video gamey.
Very, but for the most part, they were very good about integrating small parts of it with stuff that was clearly real, like real set pieces, and like some of the boat stuff was real. And I find that's the best way to do CGI, because to me, if you have too much CGI, it takes me kind of out of a film, because it's just like, wow, I would rather play a PS3 game, and that way I can interact with it. You know what I mean?
Right. Like why would I watch Avatar? Like Avatar is something I would rather play than watch. Like, if I want to even play something that mediocre and generic to begin with, but I'm with you. I mean, but again, like, that's also a you and me thing, because not everybody plays video games.
No, I don't. But also, like, why watch Avatar? Or sorry,
why watch that? To be fair, though,
Avatar over Ferngully, because it's basically Ferngully. Ferngully's shorter, and you have Tim Curry singing.
Oh yeah,
bam.
Yeah. Well,
that's all you need.
Why support James Cameron anyway?
He's got enough money. He's fine. But support Amir Khan and Big B. I don't want to call him Big B. That sounds like some like Southern uncle, like from a Tennessee Williams. I want to see more stuff with him. And I read
There's
online
plenty. There's so much. There's so much, Heather.
I know. Francis Truffaut could be counted as one of his admirers. So for anybody that's a big fan of Truffaut, legendary French art house director, that's high praise. So I thought that was very cool.
And his dad was a massive poet. His son is a really fantastic actor. Abhishek is a fantastic actor in his own right. Like, Amitabh Bachchan not only comes from good stock, but also puts it back out into the world. So, and he was also a politician too, which is, in India, a lot of the actors are so well known and so kind of influential that they end up just kind of going into politics. And I'm not living in India right now, so I can't speak to how people received Amitabh as a politician, but I know how we would receive him here if he tried to do that. and I'm not saying an Indian actor, but an American actor, because actors aren't allowed to have opinions on things. So
yeah, but reality
anybody in the creative world's not allowed to have an opinion on anything.
But if you're on a really bad reality TV,
yeah, well, there you go. I'm really glad that you were as taken by Amitabh as you are, because he is for me one of my favorite Indian actors. I mean, he's just I don't know, he just has such a great look. Even in this movie, when they've kind of, I'll say uglied him up, but uglied him up in like a badass way. It's like what they did to Jeffrey Rush in Pirates of the Caribbean. You've been like uglied up, but you can still kick ass. Like,
yeah,
you're made to look like you've been out on the ocean the entire like time.
Oh my God. And maybe that's why, and you've already mentioned some really good points. Yeah. I mean, this film, it isn't a perfect film. I mean, I don't think it deserves like some of the really harsh attacks, because it's a fun movie. I mean, that's at the end of the day, this isn't an art house film. This is a big budget action,
right,
historical film, but with history as a backing. But it's not like a drama. It's not like an Oscar bait type of a piece. But that's fine, and that's fun. Sometimes you just need that. And him, oh my gosh! So his character, like the minute you see him, before he even says anything, you're like, I love that guy. I am compelled by him. And I think the charisma between him and Amir Khan, I do 100% agree with you. I wish they would have done more with Safira.
Oh, and especially like so much so. She's just, and what's sad is, I don't know if I would have that same conclusion if I hadn't seen Dangal. I assume we probably both would have said, oh, the female character's underserved, but it's worse because we've seen Dangal. Like, it's way worse.
We know how kick-ass she is, because we saw her wrestle some very tough ladies in Dangal. Yeah. And I like Fatima. She's got a great presence and a great look to her. And she's great here. I mean, I will say this, seeing her in the action scenes felt very believable. Like, even if we hadn't seen Dangal. And that's always been my problem with some Hollywood products, is sometimes a lot of the women they cast, I'm like, you want me to buy this woman fighting?
Right.
Like, because it'll be like somebody who does it, like for every Angela Bassett, you'll get like, this is a terrible comparison, but like, I don't buy Scarlett Johansson kicking somebody's ass in real life. I just don't.
I don't either. Not one singular bit, do I?
No. But like Fatima, or like, if we're going to go with the Pirates of the Caribbean, and this film, I think for a lot of Westerners, like even the trailer, you'll immediately kind of think of that movie.
I mean, Amir Khan's, I mean, I kind of mentioned it in the intro, but yeah, he's playing Jack Sparrow, but in a lot of ways, like he's playing a version of Jack Sparrow that they refused to do in the movies, which was Jack Sparrow really not being taken in by other people. Because that's the thing, right? Like, Jack Sparrow's kind of taken by Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom, and he keeps being drawn into their adventures. Mm-hmm. This movie, it really feels like Amir Khan's character has some autonomy of his own, the way the movie kind of progresses. And by the end of it, I think you kind of get that even more. But I think I actually appreciate that Amir Khan is kind of drawing on that as a reference point, but he doesn't do the whole I'm like constantly drunk thing.
Keith Richards on a 9-day bender.
Right.
Kind of thing. Yeah. No. And plus Amir Khan's character like has done some truly devious things, and which I like, because I feel like I've only admittedly seen the first Pirates of the Caribbean film, but like you love Jack Sparrow, but he just doesn't seem like that bad of a dude for being a pirate. Like,
Amir Khan's kind of a bastard.
Yeah, he's done some shitty things, but Amir Khan is so charming. But then he has redemptive arcs, and it's Amir Khan looking like a bohemian dandy vampire, which I am 100% down.
Manic pixie dream dandy,
almost as hot as his dad bod in Dangal, though. I'm living for a dad bod Amir Khan.
He doesn't drop his shirt in this movie once. I was waiting for it.
That's a negative. For everybody listening,
Your Honor, we wanted to see him shirtless.
Well, I'm sorry. The guys get to see Katrina Kaif. The wind cries out Soraya. And she, holy crap, is so gorgeous. Like, why is Gwyneth Paltrow popular here when this woman exists?
I wonder, and she's only only a couple years older than me too, which is crazy. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't know.
She's so gorgeous.
It's just a shame that she's kind of just not in the movie enough. Like, she could have been a bigger part.
Mm-hmm.
All the female characters could have, but you really feel it with Soraya and Saphira. I mean, Saphira and Soraya are such different characters, but it's almost like Soraya as a character in this movie is an afterthought.
Oh, completely. No, because she drops out for a huge chunk of it.
2 hours, like literally 2 hours.
And then it's like all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, there's that pretty lady again with her dancing.
Well, what's crazy is Katrina Kaif is a fantastic actress in her own right. I mean, she's been in Doom 3, Bharat, which I think is a pretty well-known, pretty big box office hit, and then she was in a film called Zero, which I think was also rather well regarded. It's just kind of weird. Like, again, the female characters in this movie kind of feel underserved, and in 2018, in 2018, we're not seeing female characters being this underserved, even in Western stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that is probably one of the film's weakest, especially because Saphira is such a huge.
She's the main character of the movie, ostensibly.
Well, her story and her pull and her arc is centrally tied to, what the seed of this film is.
Right. I mean, the cold open is her family getting murdered by the amazing Lloyd Owen, who I love that the British actors that they cast are such nice dudes in like everything else that they're in.
Oh my God. He's a rat bastard in this. But he's great. He's great. And that sounds like him doing the dialogue.
It sounds like a Westerner speaking Hindi.
It does. Like, and same with the which I really liked this actor and character too, Gavin Marshall as Captain James Powell.
Yeah.
And he and we get a nice little twist with his character towards the end, which I liked. It was, I mean, even if it's not maybe realistic.
Yeah. But not only is it not realistic, it's like it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Well, kind of, but if you notice, there are points in the movie where he'll try and have a little more kindness than Clive does, and Clive, of course, will just say something like, "No, we're not taking any prisoners."
No prisoners.
No prisoners. And Phillips is looking at him like, "God, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Like, what is your problem? Why are you so awful?" So there's like little hints. I mean, that's the thing. I think that performance, he's really good. He's not given really that much to do with that in the script, but his emotion, like his face, is really good at kind of giving you that foreshadowing.
But Lloyd Owen was just in the Lord of the Rings TV show that Amazon did, and he plays an
elf?
No, he plays the father of. Oh my God, damn it!
Is he a hobbit?
No, I'm trying to remember the name of his character now. Oh, he plays Elendil, who is the father of Isildur. They're the ones who kill Sauron the first time, and they're the ones. Isildur is the one who ends up taking the ring and not destroying the ring, but he plays his father in the show, and he's really good. And it was like, oh, Lloyd Owen's kind of like coming back. But then when I watched this, I just love that he plays a bastard so perfectly.
Oh, my God.
And it's in Triple R, they kind of have the same character, and it's played by Ray Stevenson instead, which, if that sounds exciting to you, you should totally check it out. But it's just funny that I feel like these British actors are just like reveling in the opportunity to play these like British aggressors. Again, they're not, it's not that they're written really specifically, it's more, they're just kind of written like one note, but in the context of these movies, it works.
Yeah, no, and there's such a great cinematic shot of Clive at one point where he's almost in this like dark room and the key light hits his eyes.
Yeah.
Just to like highlight how villainous he is, but it's done so beautifully. Like it's such a gorgeous shot. And he's the perfect mix where he doesn't ham it up. He doesn't make it like a caricature villain, but he's just enough evil where you're like, yeah, burn the whitey, just
yeah, pretty much.
Just get him. You know, it doesn't help that the film I had to watch before this also was racist. So I went into this movie already having a chip on my shoulder about awful
Down with Whitey.
Yeah, like,
well, that is the thing that we not we, you and I, but Westerners, we don't have a frame of reference for, because like Revolutionary War movies aren't super popular in our country. Like period movies about Americans fighting the British is not very popular because I don't know why really, but these movies are not only very popular in India, but they're also very important because obviously the Brits were imperialist colonizers for, hundreds of years. So it's important that these kinds of movies exist for obviously a grand populace of the Indian population to see, because again, it kind of is it's history adjacent, right? But it's also a lot of wish fulfillment, and it's a lot of kind of taking back what we lost is what it feels like. And not we, but obviously the Indian people. And I as someone who's just observing it, I can't really understand it because my family is more or less immigrants from the last 100 years to this country, but that's not the same as being, invaded by people and being their literal royal subjects for, however long. So I think it's interesting how villainous the Brits are in these movies and how deservedly so it kind of feels.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is how often do we get, because that's the thing, especially with Westerners, it's like, we live in a country where the people telling the stories are usually, I think things are changing a little bit on this front, but typically it's like, well, yeah, you're not really descended from people that had it rough. Like you're descended, even if you're I'm descended from what would be called white trash. I'm definitely, there's no like colonialism in my family, because like we were all just like probably just like poor indentured serf from Ireland or whatever.
Right.
But even then, it's different. It's different than having somebody come to your homeland and just take it over like that and then enslave part of the population. And
then some of the population allowing themselves to be part of the problem too, which is kind of what they touch on in this movie with Amir Khan's Ferengi, which is is it a Persian? I think it's a Persian term for someone who's French, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that's what Ferengi means. Amir Khan, it's interesting. In this movie, he's obviously, we open with him, kind of getting money from his fellow Indians and then turning them into the Brits to get more money, because he's turning them in the thugs that he uses to rob this kind of caravan that he's pretending to be with. So it's like a triple cross. But I kind of wish there had been more of like setting him up as a character. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. And I kept wondering, when are the thugs that he has wronged? Like, I felt like that was almost like Chekhov's gun. I'm like, surely at some point, one of these guys, and we even see Clive meet with like one of the lead guys that he double crossed and got thrown into prison. But then not a lot's really done with that. And I kept expecting that to throw a wrench in the plan. But then another part of me's like, this movie's already about right under 3 hours long. So maybe they didn't want to go for like the 5-hour cut. Because honestly, there's so much subplots you could do.
Well, and those guys come back in that scene that you've already mentioned with Lloyd Owen, where he's sitting in that chair in the prison, and he's like, hey, do you remember Ferengi? And he's like, Burlal, I think is the character's name. Like, he smiles, and I guess they go out with them when they kind of attack their stronghold. But that scene ends up being about something else. It's funny reading the reviews about the movie, at least from the Indian press at the time. And mind you, this movie is only 4 years old, so reading the press at the time, they were like, Amitabh's great. Amir Khan is great. Everything else, not great. And in a lot of ways, I kind of agree. I think everything is good about the performances. I did kind of want more substance with what was going on screen, because they had a lot of style. The substance just, it did, I'm not going to say it felt a little meandering, but you could have taken a half an hour out of this movie, and I think it might have been a little bit of a tighter narrative, at least with some of kind of the, I don't know, there's just some like stuff that doesn't need to be in there.
Yeah.
Honestly, two of the dance numbers could be taken out completely. Honestly, the music in this movie might be the biggest disappointment. I was not taken by any of the songs outside of the last one, and I think that there are 3 at least.
Let's see, yeah,
maybe
there's
4.
There's Soraya's number. There's the one where they're singing about how they like to drink. There's the climactic one where it's like the celebration where they're supposed to throw the arrow and the demon,
right?
Rivan, I think.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm forgetting one. I feel like there was 4, but
I think there may have been only 3. I mean, there are only 3 act musical numbers in the movie. There's the Soraya one at the beginning. There's that one that the Amitabh and Amir Khan one, and then there's the one at the end. There's 3, and like 2 of them are immensely forgettable. Actually, the one that I like the most would probably be the one with Amir Khan and Amitabh, but even that one is not. It's not even as good. None of the music in this movie is even as good as the music in Dangal is. And if you listen to our Dangal episode, you'll know that they don't perform it in those movies. It's just, you're watching a montage. It's essentially what they use for the montages, but it works so well in those montages that it kind of does the same thing that the musical number would do. You just don't have the number being performed. I really was disappointed by the music in this movie, at least the musical numbers. I think the music itself, the score of the movie is perfectly fine, but the musical acts I was really disappointed by.
Yeah. No, the score's great. I did enjoy the score. The musical numbers were okay, but I see what you're saying, because honestly, I couldn't hum a tune off of any of them. I'm kind of torn if I had to pick a favorite one, because on one hand, seeing Amitabh getting to sing, like, that was like, he's great, and getting to see him like this like warrior, like this amazing, just like he's almost like a god. You would hear it in a myth or something. Like, it's so great. Singing about, the priest doesn't want me drinking, but it's so much fun. it's cute, but it almost feels like it's in a rough draft stage. I think that's a problem with some of the music. Is like the seeds are really good. Like, there's parts that you're like, yeah, this could really build up to something really killer, but it feels like it's not polished. Like, I mean, it's polished visually. Like, the visuals are super polished. And in fact, the visuals with that climactic scene the visuals are my favorite in that one, especially with the giant, like hawk sort of structure that the people are on top of, and just the epicness of it. Like, it totally gave me almost like, I maybe that's, I don't know, like almost like a Cecil B. DeMille throwback. Like, there's something
very grand.
There's something about this film that keeps making me think of old Hollywood. And it's not even on purpose. I don't think it's on purpose, but it's got something about old Hollywood films that I just don't feel like you see in Western cinema now.
No, I agree. I think, obviously, I don't, I think it's just anytime you do something on a boat is like there are very few tricks that you can do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to be out on that boat. You got to be out doing it. And there is something inherently kind of throwback about that. Because if I think of something like Master and Commander, or, even the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie is kind of old Hollywood. Yeah, there are some sci-fi horror trappings to that movie with the coin that turns them into skeletons, but still it's ostensibly like an old Hollywood movie. I think maybe it's just there are certain kinds of stories that just don't get told anymore. Like, imagine if we were watching a big Egyptian movie with lots of live, actual set pieces and stuff. You probably would say the same thing, right? Like, it's, is it like the subject material? Is it being a period piece? Is that because they don't make stuff like this anymore?
I think it's the way the characters are structured in a weird way. And maybe that actually is also kind of tied to the fact that the women aren't like as focused as they should be, because that's kind of what you would see in old Hollywood.
Right.
I mean, not always.
Totally.
But
it's
kind of
the
film,
expectation at least.
But I also think like the musical numbers, even though these aren't certainly the best to show anybody getting into this, and I'm still like a neophyte, but I mean, like Rangila's musical numbers. Yeah,
they were fantastic.
Those are tight. But
one might say, though, those are technically more or less the focus of the movie, though.
I agree.
But to be fair, the musical numbers in plenty of other Indian cinema films that we have watched for this show that are not the focus have been amazing. So it's not an excuse. Like, it's not.
But there's, I don't know, there's something, there's like a genuine joy to the filmmaking that I was able, that was helped me to really kind of overlook a lot of the storytelling flaws. And there are, like, I get it and I agree. Realistically, they should have made, and I hate, this pains my heart to say this because I love Amir Khan, but they should have made Zafir the main focus and had him as a side character.
Yeah, well, and you know, as much as I do like Amir Khan in this movie, I do kind of want to mention I like him in this movie, but I think his character is a little overwritten. Do you know what I mean? He totally is. Like, he is the smartest guy in the room. He's 3 steps ahead of everybody. And I normally don't have an issue with that kind of character. It's when the character starts telling everybody that I have a problem.
Well, and it's a little bit, you get dangerously into Kenny territory for any Gamera fans.
Yeah.
Thank God he's not a little boy, but you know, for anybody who's not familiar, Kenny is a precocious kid character that somehow magically knows everything.
Right.
But he has no reason to know about it. And he's like, oh yeah, Gamera's blah, blah, blah. And you're like, how do you know this? There's no reason why this kid should know it. And it's like, kind of, he's not charming enough to make you overlook that. You cannot suspend your disbelief because you're annoyed. Now, obviously, Amir Khan is no Kenny, and he's very charismatic. So you're able to pull through it, but agreed at the same time. I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, and it's again, like, you know, the mentioning of Jack Sparrow, you know, those later Pirates movies end up being just like the Jack Sparrow show. And that's kind of the problem, is original Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow's not really the main character. It's Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom. And he is used in small doses, you know, throughout the movie. And again, small or large, however you want to view it. He's not the main character of the first movie. Second and third movie, yeah, he's the main character, more or less, because they were like, oh my God, we hit upon, you know, we hit upon lightning in a bottle. The way this movie ends, they kind of understand what they've got. And they kind of, you know what I mean? Like, if there's ever a sequel to this movie, I don't know. But they end this movie in a way that it's almost more of a response to movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, less responses to this movie itself. Because if you have this movie end a certain way, there's nowhere this movie can go. And they had to end this movie in a certain way just in case Amir Khan wants to come back and play this character again. Which, I mean, I would be totally game for if I know he's the main character in the movie and it's being written that way and it's being set up that way. Don't set up the next movie by introducing us to a character who's a female character and then having them be the backseat character in their own narrative. Because that does really, not just in this movie, it just bothers me in general when it seems like while they were writing the script, they realized who the cool character was and pivoted. And it's like, while I appreciate that certain characters may be more entertaining than others, they don't do a lot to actually further the narrative of the movie.
Yeah. Well, and you have some really great supporting characters that you don't get enough of too.
Right.
Like, it's not even just like Saphira is not a supporting character, she's a main character, but you get like his buddy.
Yeah.
Like
Sanichar, the guy he saves from prison, Mohammed Zishan Ayub, who is also in his own right fantastic. And those little scenes you get with him are really good and kind of really kind of heartfelt too. When he goes up to him, he's like, thank you for being my Azad. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What movie is like, this is a kind of a quiet moment in an otherwise very fast-paced movie. This movie doesn't give you a lot of time to kind of sit and be with the characters either. There's like a couple scenes, but that, I think maybe, and this kind of just all ties into the same problem, this movie never sits long enough to let you get to know the characters. And that's wild to think about with a 3-hour movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what's crazy is most of the time when we watch one of these Indian cinema movies, the 2 hours or 2 hour plus time that these movies are running, they're utilizing it to really give us a complete idea of who these characters are. In a lot of ways, they're giving us 2 movies for the price of one. Most of the time, it's like a backstory and then the conclusion to the story that was set up in the backstory, like in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, like in K3G. I mean, they tell 2 stories. So it's weird that the character who is our main character gets forgotten about after the cold open. Like, it's that quick into the movie.
Yeah. Also, like I really liked oh God, I'm gonna like ruin his name. The Maharaj character, who was basically, you find out, is helping trade weapons to Azad, but he's also providing opium to the English. And like that actor is so good, because at first you think you're gonna get one thing, but he does like this little subtle thing with his mustache when he's walking away from Clive, and you're like, ooh, is that a little hint? And you find out, yes, it is. And that guy's great, and he ends up being a badass. Like, we don't get a lot of him, but his fight scenes, and he's like this older guy who's kind of stout, but he's like bringing it. Like, you're like, yeah, this guy is a leader for a reason, and we don't get enough of him. And also, even though I know she's more of a comic character, I really loved like the medicine woman of the village.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's so good. And Jai Tumbi was the character's name. Ila Arom. I feel like I sound like I'm speaking Italian. Ila Arom. Yeah. But and I found out if you look at her credits, she also has a few composer credits and has sung on like dozens and dozens upon Bollywood movies as like a background singer. So this woman's a badass, is what I'm saying.
We should Sharat Saxena, who is the or Saxena, let's go with Sharat Saxena, is the actor that you were talking about who played the Maharaja, and he was nominated for a Filmfare Best Villain Award, which is the equivalent of our Academy Awards, for a movie that he was in '98 with none other than Amir Khan, a film called Ghulam, which apparently is pretty good. So maybe something worth checking out. But he was apparently the main villain in a movie opposite Amir Khan. So
we'll be doing this in 2023.
See, that's the thing. Like, every time anybody comes on here, the sense that we always get by the end of the episode, or while we're just sitting here and talking, is I want to just watch more of this. Like, even as much as I have issues with this movie, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. I spent half of the day I've been awake, more or less, watching it. Like, it's not a small amount of time. And yeah, you could sit and watch it in 2 sittings, but this movie doesn't have an intermission. At least not on the Prime Video version that I watched, not on the version that you watched, which was also on Prime Video, which is where you can find this movie rather easily. But a lot of these movies offer intermissions. This one didn't. And I think it really is still a fun movie, even with all the problems I have. Like, I would not recommend a movie like this if it were like a Marvel movie, like even with the flaws.
Yeah. Yeah, though. And that's the fascinating thing, though, Chris, is like all 3 movies that I've done on the show so far, if they had modern day American equivalents, I would be like, next. Rom-com, next.
I'm with you.
Biopic, drama, next,
Sports movie, even, mind you.
Yeah, next, like double next. And but no, I mean, and you're right, because even this film that is like, it does have like some very valid criticisms that we've gone into. It's still, at the end of the day, a very entertaining film. You get to see great actors. Some of the visuals, like, even though, I totally see what you're saying, some of them are amazing, though. Like some of the fight choreography.
Oh my God. I mean,
it's gorgeous. It has like, I love the hawk. I love birds of prey in general. Like, I'm a big fan of hawks, and that's hawks with an H, people.
I thought it was HWX.
Hawks.
Hawks.
Hawks. That sounds like the name of a cover band, of like an Eagles cover band in some really shitty bar.
Oh, I thought all they would do is just play Highway to the Danger Zone over and over again.
Oh God. Oh, Kenny Loggins. What
for the 35th time, we're playing this song in a row.
Who in here loves Kenny Loggins? Hold your hands up.
I love it. Yeah.
Top Gun. Yeah, see, I would rather see this than the new Top Gun movie.
Yeah.
So,
and I've been trying to figure out what that is. Is that us just as Westerners being jaded and disillusioned with our cinema? And like the trappings of the cinema that we have been viewing and being kind of indoctrinated into our entire lives. Like, is that what it is? I'm genuinely curious, because like I haven't had this conversation with anybody, but at some point somebody has to ask, why are we saying exactly what you're saying? Because I agree. I echo it 100%. Like, I'd rather watch this than a Marvel movie of the same quality and caliber.
Yeah. No, I've thought about that. I've thought about that a lot actually since watching Thugs of Hindostan, because I was like, I was like, well, why am I feeling like that?
Right, because you're not an MCU fan at all. Like,
I mean, I don't hate it. It's just not for me. Like,
right, but like you're not rushing out to see a movie like this made for Westerners in theaters.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. But then it hit me, and I think and this is also tied to kind of what I'm talking about with the like old Hollywood in a way too, is that I feel like with a lot of newer American movies, like people get lost in the gadgetry of things, but they don't have the love of the world building. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's something almost cynical about like how some films are made. Like, it feels like this is what we do, and yeah, here's this cool thing we did in After Effects, but it's like, it doesn't always feel to me. And this is just my opinion. I know a lot of people differ, and that's totally fine. These are all opinions. This isn't science, but except when it's me, because I'm right. And I'm joking.
Agreed.
But
I know better than to disagree.
Yeah, sorry. No, I feel like there's such a joy in all three of these very different films. There's a joy in the making of the film, not just the joy in here's a cool special effect we can do, or here's the joy in all the money we're going to get from merchandising. Like, it's like there's a genuineness of loving building this world. Like, I 100% believe when they made this movie, the editors, the director, everybody had fun. And it's like, look at this world we can create. And
look at this cool top hat we can give Amir Khan.
That top hat rules.
He looks, his costume design in this movie, like, give those people much credit.
Oh my God.
Him and like, it's funny, like him and like Sherlock from the Sherlock TV show and like Doctor Who, they're all and like Jack Sparrow, they're all in this like manic pixie dream dandy thing where they're just like, oh, he's the himbo daddy of my dream.
Oh my God. It's so funny you said, because I knew a girl that was the big, like, newer Whovian, meaning like she got into Doctor Who when it was like David Tennant,
Right.
Did not know who Tom Baker was, which makes me sad, but whatever. But then when they cast Peter Capaldi, she was like so bummed because she was like, oh, but he's not cute like that.
He's not?
I would bang him. Well,
I was about to say, like, I would, just to hear him like curse at me, but that's fake Peter Capaldi. He's such a nice guy.
No, he seems like a gent, but
he is. The one time I met him, he was very nice. I mean, I was taking a picture with him.
Being so fancy.
I don't know what fancy. Paying someone money to meet them is not fancy.
But no, you met Peter Capaldi and one of the actors in the film we're talking about today.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, that's the thing about Western actors in Indian movies. Like, Lloyd Owen, obviously, I mean, again, like talking about Lord of the Rings, talking about Apollo, I think it's like Apollo 18, is that the movie that he's in? It's interesting to watch them in these movies because what they're being asked to do is like something that you ask character actors to do in a Western film. Just ham it up. But like, obviously, they're not really, not just ham it up, but like, you need to be a villain. Hard stop. Like, I'm not sure you need to do more than that, which I appreciate. Right. I mean, that's the thing about this movie, I think, just in general, and that maybe is where the problems are, because the movie is kind of written so broadly and all the characters are so over the top. I mean, you have, the character that Fatima Sheikh plays, Zafira. She, at one point, she does like a flip and shoots 4 arrows at guys at once. And Amitabh is wearing this like crazy iron armor and he looks like a terracotta soldier. All these characters, at least the ones that they've put time into, are so like stylistically interesting that it is kind of a shame when some of them are just stylistically interesting. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like that is this weird disconnect, because female actors in Indian cinema, like actresses in Indian cinema, normally are not this underserved. And so like, I don't know, like in a lot of ways, I was trying to think like what would be the best way to kind of alleviate the issues that I had with this movie. I think taking the Soraya character out and would take 2 of the 3 musical numbers out, which decreases the movie's runtime by 20 minutes, and taking her character out completely and actually having Amir Khan have a romantic relationship with Zafira. Because that's what kind of is weird about this movie is by the end of it, you have the Sanichar character being like, didn't you two fall in love? Like, aren't you in love? Like, why aren't you staying? And he's like, I don't care even if we were. Like, I'm going to do my own thing. And then, what happens, kind of, and then there's kind of another twist right at the end of the movie. But it's weird to me because that would have been the smart thing to do, would have Amir Khan and Zafira have like a actual relationship. And it never feels like they're anything other than just kind of annoyed by one another. At least she feels constantly annoyed by him.
Yeah, well, I will say I was actually kind of glad they didn't go full romantic with them, but part of that is because we watched Dangal and I was just like,
oh well, there is that, to be fair.
It's kind of like, that was like, I remember when I saw years ago like Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow and just being so weirded out because like I'm like, wow, I remember seeing Mermaids with Cher. I love Cher. But like Winona Ryder is in it and Christina Ricci plays her like 9-year-old or 8-year-old little sister. And Johnny Depp is Winona Ryder's love interest. And then just a few years later, because it's Hollywood, Winona Ryder's already aged out, but we'll have little teenage baby Christina Ricci be the love interest in Sleepy Hollow. But Johnny Depp, it's like, wow, this just turns into Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. Like, like the girls just stay the same age and I keep getting older and older. And it's like, and you kind of like throw up in your mouth,
Well, I mean, I guess maybe I do wonder if maybe metatextually that's why they didn't do that.
Yeah,
because Dangal is a massive hit, obviously.
Oh, yeah, and a critical hit too.
Yeah, critically and financially. So I wonder if they were like, well, we can't have him having a relationship with the actress who played his daughter not but like 2 years ago. But that also feels kind of like the only explanation for that is non-narrative, which is kind of, I'm never one to fully buy into that, because that is also some of me just thinking that and making connections and making assumptions. But it would have been weird if they had a romantic kind of thing going on, because they were so believable as father and daughter. It's like, do I want to see this? Like, I don't know if I need to see this.
No. But on top of that, like, I just get really tired of seeing like women in general, like female characters where it's like they have to have a love interest.
Right. I agree with you there.
And
I'm more pointing it out because I feel like if she had been his love interest, we may have actually gotten more of her, is more my reasoning. Like, it's kind of it's antithetical almost. Like, I don't like or feel like movies need romantic subplots, but in this one it might have benefited actually giving us something with the character more than just her shooting people with arrows.
Yeah, as rad as that was, though.
Yeah, I mean, she had more of a relationship with Amitabh than she did with Amir Khan.
Yeah, you know what it is? It hits me with the musical numbers, Chris. You just unlocked something in my brain. The problem is like the music and the musical numbers don't really match the score or the vibe of the movie.
No,
like if they had musically reflected. Do you think you would have liked them better? Because I know I would have, if they musically reflected what was going on with the atmosphere and tone, like something a little more heavier, something more with more Sturm and Drang, like something that's really like
some drums, some like big drums or something,
like battle music.
Well, that's why why the second musical number really only works for me, because it's, it's in their hideout and it's all, there's kind of this like sense of camaraderie between Amitabh and Amir Khan and kind of getting to know one another and kind of feeling one another out through this song. And like, that makes sense. But to your point, it almost feels like the movie grinds to a halt when Katrina Kaif as Soraya comes on screen, because she's almost in the movie solely to be in the musical numbers. That's it. Like, and not even that's kind of it. Like, that is it. Those are the 2 times she's in the movie outside of when she shows up at the very end. And that, for me, it's like, she's a good actress. Yes, she's talented at singing and dancing and choreography, but she's also a good actress in her own right. Give her more to do. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time.
Yeah, but granted, her dancing
fantastic. Like,
is incredible. Like,
cannot argue with her God-given abilities. That's for sure.
Oh my goodness.
Or
No.
Amir Khan or Amitabh. Like, again, Amitabh's not singing. I'm not sure Amir Khan is singing, but still they're killing it with the choreography.
Oh, yeah.
Killing it with the choreography.
Well, and especially because how old at this point is Amitabh?
He
Is he an older
he's
gentleman?
80 now, so he was 76.
76 and pulling off this shit. Damn. That
Yeah.
man's living right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we have that? I want that. You know, I don't need Gwyneth Paltrow's goop or whatever. I want Amitabh's secret.
Ladus, maybe? Tons of ladus, just not
Ladus.
poisoned ones.
Yeah, those ladus did look good.
They're gigantic too. They're like
They're
the size of your
huge.
fist. Like, holy cow.
I'm like, that looks like a sweet dinner roll. I want it.
I'm curious though, how did you feel about the third act twist in this movie? So towards the end of the movie, Amir Khan comes back to Soraya and they've kind of been pushed out of their stronghold, and Amitabh is dead for all intents and purposes, and they come to Soraya and they say, look, you're going to be entertaining the baddie, Lloyd Owen's character, so can we show up with you as your dance troupe and we'll kill him at the end of the performance? And she's like, sure. Amir Khan finds out, along with the rest of our characters, that Amitabh is still alive during this, right before this final performance. And so he backstabs everybody, unbeknownst to them, to get them all imprisoned so that they can break out and kind of storm the gates from within. How did you feel about the third act twist of him kind of, taking apart their entire plan in front of them?
I'm torn on it. To be honest, my first reaction was like, what? Like, this is a bit. I mean, honestly, categorically, it's a bit much. I cannot, and I really enjoyed this movie, and I would recommend it to somebody, like, because it's fun, and I think as a whole, like, the positives outweigh the negatives, but. That's a lot. But the fruit, there are some really cool fruits that came out of that later afterward in the film that I really enjoyed. But it's a bit, I mean, it's kind of what you mentioned it earlier, where it's almost like he's outwitting everybody to an almost like supernatural degree. Oh, Chris, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I have no idea how I got muted.
I don't know. I felt like,
where did I get muted from?
I don't know. Well, you were clear, and then when that last bit where I was talking, that must have happened then.
Oh,
but then you started talking again, and
I'm trying to remember what I was talking about.
I didn't want to like interrupt and be rude, No,
it's fine. So not only does he backstab his friends and the Brits, he also diminishes his own visibility to the Brits by making himself look cowardly to them to further sell this kind of idea that he's created, that he's backstabbing them at the 11th hour. But the movie is in the last hour of the movie. Are we supposed to actually believe that he's turning on them here? That's my question. Or does it feel like kind of a little bit of a plot contrivance? Because to me, it ends up feeling like a plot contrivance. I didn't believe for any moment that he was going to kill Amitabh in that cell.
No,
right?
No, but Amitabh was so good.
Well, that's the thing. It makes up for it because that whole back and forth is so good that I kind of ultimately really don't care. But in lesser hands, it would be a bigger problem.
No, agreed. I think that's the thing. This film's charms, and obviously it's with these actors, are so great that you are able to overlook. And even then, I was like, this is a bit much, but I can still go with it because look what I'm getting. But it is like, it's a bold move, and you better have the right players for it. Luckily, in this film, we did. But yeah, I mean, if it was if it was somebody who was a little blander or a little less charismatic, I mean, you'd be a lot more upset. I think watching this, you'd be a little bit like, are you shitting me? But here it's kind of like, what? But it's like, oh, but there's Amitabh and there's Amir and there's that there's Mohammed, his astrologer friend who could speak all these languages, and he's great. And there's a joke, and there's even a nice little back reference to the medicine woman's how most of her potions kill, because it sounds like she probably just made something she meant to heal people and it's still just like poison.
So they just have her make poison at the end of the movie. So
Yeah. But yeah, so it is contrived, but it's like, I don't know, it's like I can kind of roll with it. It's sort of like not everything has to be it does it make the film an A+? No, it does hurt it, but it makes it the film, I would say, is a solid. I hate grading shit. I shouldn't do that, but I think it's solidly entertaining.
I agree. I think if you go into it with the expectation that you are going to get some really big, fun action set pieces with some of the finest actors in Indian cinema, it delivers on those in spades. But if you see the trailer and you're expecting, Katrina Kaif or Fatima Shaikh to be in the movie in a substantive way, they are not. I read some of the comments on the trailer, and there was one of them that was like, Katrina Kaif is in the trailer as much as she's in the movie. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, fucking got him there. Like, it, more or less, it is a shame. Because, like yourself, I don't understand why we have to use female characters in a certain way in cinema, and I don't know why anyone did for the longest time, and I don't like perpetuating it. And I don't think they're perpetuating it intentionally here, but they are perpetuating it either way. So it's just a shame because, Fatima Shaikh, we know she's a great actress. We saw her in Dangal. She carried that movie along with Amir Khan. Like, she was fantastic. So it's not for a lack of talent. It's more just the writing kind of suffered. And so, Vijay Krishna Acharya, he wrote Doom 1 and Doom 2, which Richard and I have covered. He didn't direct either of those movies, but he was the screenplay and story and dialogue, and those movies are fantastic. He directed the third one, which I have not seen. Richard and I will be watching it at some point. The third one features, wouldn't you guess it, Amir Khan. So I don't know what to expect with Doom 3. I hope it's solves some of the issues that this movie has. I know it came out before this movie did, but at the same time, I've heard things about Doom 3 that now that I've seen this movie may be kind of an issue that this director, Vijay Krishna Acharya, kind of just has, and it's not something that he really is worried about fixing or cares about doing. So I don't know. Again, outside of the way the female characters are treated in this movie, it is a fun movie. It really is just kind of a big, epic. Like, it's just epic. It's just an epic movie. Everything about this movie is made to feel epic, and I think that does come across on screen. I don't think at any point was I like rolling my eyes at them trying to be epic.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's so much fun.
Right.
And to be honest, like it probably does help that the movie I watched before this one had some serious sexism. So I went into this film even kinder, probably to its flaws.
It's not overt sexism here. It's not subtextual.
I wouldn't say it's sexist. I just think it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, it's almost, but she's still, what you do get of her, she is badass. She brings it. I would love to see a sequel starring Zafira.
Yeah, me too.
And have her as it's this like leader of her people and willing to do anything to defend her country, her people, because she's got that, and this actress can bring it. I mean, that was the other thing, like with like going back to Pirates, and Keira Knightley's a good actress. I'm not hating on her, but it's like I had a hard time buying, like, when she tries to get badass. I'm just like,
yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, and she's a good actress. I'm not hating on her, but it's just like I'm not buying it either. It's not like when you see, like, say, Linda Hamilton, like that's something that lends itself well to Terminator. Even the first one, she's not as muscly in that one, but Linda Hamilton has a presence where you're like, yeah, I would have her having my back in a bar fight. Like, yeah, she's cool. But and yeah, I mean, yeah, so more Saphira would be great. I doubt they will, because I know this film, and in fact, and you probably saw this too, I guess there was a shorter cut of this film for China.
Right, because Amir Khan is so popular in China. He's wildly popular in China. It's insane.
He should be popular everywhere.
I agree. Like, that is the thing. Like, we kind of did talk about him a lot, but, take Amir Khan out of this movie, And like, I don't think I'm interested at all. I mean, I like
Mm.
Amitabh, but like Amir Khan is just so goddamn charismatic. Like,
Oh my God. The man could eat a sandwich and he's like, you're like, oh my God,
and
I'm
just
compelled.
give you a little head nod and a little
Oh
head,
my
and
God.
just the
Yes.
way, and just he is such a good actor. Like, that's all you have to say, really. Like, there are few actors that are better at what they do than Amir Khan, and I'm not sure who they are, but they're probably Indian cinema actors.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely can't think of a West, especially any living Western equivalents. Like, you know,
I don't know people who go see Tom Cruise movies because Tom Cruise is in them anymore, but I know people go and see Amir Khan movies because Amir Khan is in them.
oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the
That's a special
actors.
kind of talent.
Right. Well, and honestly, for me, like with Western actors, the ones that I could say that about are usually character actors.
Right.
They're not the
Exactly.
leading men, you know,
Right.
but he is a leading man, but he has that character actor pull to him
Right.
about it. Cause, you know, especially with, I think most like with more modern Hollywood, a lot of leading men tend to be a little on the bland side. And sometimes that's to their detriment because sometimes you'll see them in another role and you're like, this guy's actually a good actor. It's just he's not given. You know, like a
Right.
lot of his big roles are bland. It's not the
Right.
actor, but yeah, Amir Khan's fantastic, and Amitabh, like I loved Azad. Like that's a guy you could see people really being like, this is going to be our savior.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm so excited to watch more Indian cinema with you and maybe at some point watch an Amitabh movie just to see. Because like
Oh, I'm
again, he's
down.
obviously such a big part of this movie, but obviously plenty of movies where he is the singular and sole focus, like Sholay, like Dawn, like he's the lead in Dawn, and that movie is just that's the Amitabh show. Like that yeah. Again, like I can't speak highly enough of all these movies, and I speak so highly as do you of all cinema. I just don't get to see all of it because I only have this much bandwidth, you know, just like you.
Right. We need more free time and money.
Right. Yeah, boy, ain't that the truth.
This is where we plug our patrons.
Yeah,
our
right.
Patreons.
Yeah. So
But
I guess Heather, final word on Thugs of Hindostan.
I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It's got like if you're in the mood for a big epic movie with great charismatic leads, tight action, and a hawk, I think this is the movie for you. I as a whole enjoyed it. I don't regret watching it at all. So
I'm with you. You know, it's easy enough to find. It's on Prime Video right now. Not only is it in Hindi, it's also in Tamil and Telugu, should you speak one of those other languages. But I mean, obviously, is a massive movie in India when it came out. It's a movie that, like I said, you still find on Amazon Prime. So it's it's like you said, it's a big charismatic action movie. It does not necessarily serve everybody's interests in the most successful way, but I think the things that you show up for, you get. And I don't think you realistically even get any more than that, which I think is okay. In a lot of ways, not every movie has to check all of its boxes plus the 5 more boxes that you brought. Sometimes it's just checking its own boxes and not worrying about what your expectations are. And in a lot of ways, I think this movie kind of is that. It is just a big action movie with some great leads, and it doesn't need to do more than that and doesn't. So
yeah, I mean, it harkens back to a time before we had things like Cinema Sins or whatever, you know, like just enjoy. Sometimes, you know, just enjoy a movie. Just enjoy it. Like not everything needs to be overly analyzed.
Right. Oh, did Amitabh's character survive that boat explosion? I don't know, and I don't care really.
Yeah. We get more of him. Good for us. You know?
Right. Like I'm not complaining that he's not in the movie. I'm glad that he is. So shut up, Cinema Sins.
Right.
Yeah. So until the next time we do one of these, which may be us talking about a 1999 Amir Khan film called Ghulam. Until then, Heather, where could people find you should they want to track you down on the internet?
Wow, Chris, that doesn't sound creepy at all.
If they want to find you.
If you want to find me, you can find me at my website, which is mondoheather.com. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, and the aforementioned Patreon under all at Mondo Heather.
And as for me, you can find me at Weirding Way Media, along with this show and the Culture Cast, which is where the Indian cinema kind of thing started. And that's where you can find this show and so many other shows that you should be checking out. And if you're not, well, are you listening to things worth listening to? Jokes aside, weirdingwaymedia.com, BollywoodCinemaClub.com is where you can find this show. Rate, review on iTunes or wherever you get your show. Thank you so much, Heather, for joining me. I know it's a real ask to get you to sit down and watch an Amir Khan movie at this point.
Oh my gosh. Like, how dare you be like, Heather, watch more of this ridiculously charismatic, mega talented dreamboat of a man and an artist.
Yeah. Oh, and you haven't even seen Hrithik Roshan yet as an actor. He was the actor who was almost the main character that Amir Khan played in this movie. And Hrithik Roshan is, if Amir Khan is a dreamboat, Hrithik Roshan is like a dream yacht. So, at least for me, he is.
I'm down.
So as always, until then, we'll catch you on the next episode.